We're so thankful for every one of you. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. Now, let's get started. I'm Caleb Turner. Before everything fell apart, my life with Olivia Park looked perfect on paper. We were the quiet couple on Maple Ridge, Sunday meal prep, Thursday laundry, and most evenings a walk around the block. I worked in back-end systems for a logistics company. She had finally settled into a real estate job after a few rocky office gigs. Nothing extravagant, just steady. Then came the new friends, Noel Pratt and Brianna Hale from her office, appearing in every story like backup dancers moving to the same rhythm. Distance him, unsettle him, make him chase. Their lines started slipping into Olivia's conversations as if rehearsed. I need to put myself first. Being married doesn't mean I owe you an explanation. Not shouted, just woven into ordinary moments. If I asked why she was coming home at midnight, I'd get a shrug and a lecture about boundaries. The night I really heard it, I was pouring a glass of water while they laughed in the living room. Noel said, "Men only change when you stop being available." Brianna added, "Disappear for a week, watch him crawl." Olivia's voice stayed calm. "I've been thinking about it." The following Sunday, she stood in the hallway wearing a hoodie, a duffel bag at her feet. "I'm staying at Noel's for a week," she said, like she was announcing a trip to the store. "We had dinner plans with my sister. I need space," she repeated, almost gently. Then she left. The soft click of the door felt like the start of a test. The house became a museum of our habits. 2 coffee mugs, 1 folded throw blanket. The silence wasn't heavy, it was honest. By day 3, panic had given way to clarity, and I called Marcus Ellison, a family attorney recommended by an old college friend. We discussed assets, accounts, and how to move forward calmly. He suggested filing for separation. I signed. Olivia texted that night, "Hey, just checking in. You good?" I replied, "Yep." "You thinking about stuff?" she asked. That was all. Like we were coworkers debriefing after a meeting. I left it at that. By day 4, the draft was on my screen. Then finally walked out, clutching the envelope to her chest like a last-minute shield. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be cold. The truth is, I loved routine because it kept our promises alive. Mornings were our small ritual, omelets, her hair loosely pinned, my laptop open with a few lines of code I couldn't step away from. She'd kiss my cheek and ask how I could love something so predictable. I'd say predictability is just another word for trust. But the crack had started months before the duffel bag. There were the networking nights that somehow always ended in low-lit lounges. She never mentioned the double shampoo in our shower, though she hadn't switched brands in years. Receipts in the laundry for boutique wine bars nowhere near her office. And then the new phrases, polished, borrowed, aimed. I didn't want to be a detective. I wanted to be a husband. So I took the softer road. Watch patterns, not people. Track what was ours versus what was being rented by strangers' advice. But patterns became proof when a client of mine, who'd just closed on a storage contract, mentioned he'd seen Olivia at the Hawthorne, a place known for late closings and louder promises. She was with the tall guy in the gray suit, he said. Looked like a boss celebrating. I filed the comment away until the gray suit acquired a name. Adrian Walsh, the regional sales director who started appearing on Olivia's calendar, then her lips, then her reflection. I noticed little things. The brighter lipstick that matched nothing she owned. The sly smile after a text she never acknowledged. The new Saturday gym habit that produced no gym bag and no sweat. I didn't explode. I wrote. I wrote down the dates the car returned at 12:47 a.m. I wrote down the dinners that became client drinks. I wrote down the weekend she stayed at Brianna's, while Brianna posted photos from a winery 3 hours away. And as I wrote, I remembered what I actually wanted. To be chosen in rooms I wasn't standing in. Our desires had once been simple. I want a small backyard with a grill and a lemon tree. I want a downtown office with floor-to-ceiling windows and my name on one of the doors. Those weren't conflicts. They were coordinates. We could have built a map, but maps require honesty. She was busy redrawing. She shifted, then kissed my jaw like she could reset a clock with her lips. I let the moment pass over me without anger. In quiet rooms, truth grows legs. I believed my notes. I believed my eyes. But I still needed to hear the truth in her voice. Not because I wanted a confession, but because I wanted to hear who she'd become. Wednesday came. At 9 she texted, "Late showing. Don't wait up." I replied with a thumbs up and made dinner for 1. By 10 I parked 2 blocks from the Hawthorne and walked in like I belonged to the shade. The place glowed with job title confidence and whispered deals. In the back corner, under a pendant lamp that made everyone look more expensive, sat Olivia and Adrian, shoulder to shoulder, their bodies angled like a secret. I didn't approach. I stood long enough to see his hand trace a light circle on her wrist, long enough to hear her laugh in a register I hadn't heard since we were 22. Then I left. No scene, no confrontation, just a man who finally stopped arguing with himself. Back home, I set the table for 2, water glasses, linen napkins, the good plates. When she came in near midnight, I was reading the inspection report from the house we'd once dreamed of buying. She froze. "Why are you up?" "I made you dinner," I said, steady. "Want some?" She blinked at the table. "I ate already. With Adrian." I asked like I was inquiring about the weather. She swallowed and found the only script she had. "Caleb, you're being controlling." "I'm being specific," I said. "He touched your wrist. You laughed. You lied." Her chin lifted. "You followed me." "I saw what I needed to see," I said. "The rest is already in writing." She looked at the table, then the clock, then the floor. "I needed to feel desired," she said finally, the words arriving carefully, like she'd practiced them in a mirror. "So you chose a man who desires what isn't his?" I replied. "That's not desire, that's appetite." Her eyes watered. "Please don't make this ugly." "Olivia," I said softly, "it became ugly the moment you decided to treat our marriage like an experiment, with Noelle as your lab partner." She whispered, "I'm sorry," but the apology floated like I saved it, date stamped, and moved on. Revenge, I was learning, isn't spectacle. It's choosing what you won't carry another inch. People imagine revenge as a grand scene, the glass shattering, the microphone drop. Mine was a table, 2 chairs, and documents. Marcus called it a grown-up strategy. I called it breathing. We met for mediation on a Tuesday. Across from me sat Olivia, her attorney, and a bottled look of composure. Between us lay the math of a life: mortgage equity, retirement accounts, car titles, and a modest savings we'd both contributed to. Marcus slid a folder forward and spoke with unshakable calm. "First, here are records of Ms. Park's overnights out of the marital residence in the 60 days preceding separation, corroborated by her own text messages." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't dramatize. He just set facts down like coasters under drinks. "Second, here's the company's policy Miss Park signed. Third, here are the dates Mr. Turner requested counseling and Miss Park declined." Her attorney shifted in his seat. Olivia stared at the table. Marcus continued, "We're not here to ruin careers. We're here to resolve a marriage. Mr. Turner is willing to take on the entire mortgage if he retains the house and the SUV he primarily uses. Ms. Park keeps her car and her brokerage account. Mr. Turner is also removing Ms. Park as an authorized user on his cards, effective immediately." Olivia glanced at me, something like a plea in her eyes. But I'd promised myself I wouldn't negotiate with the man I once was, the man who clung to promises after the other person cut them into shapes that fit new pockets. Her attorney suggested a different split. Marcus declined. "Given the documentation, our proposal is generous," he said. He was right. I wasn't extracting. I was closing. Then came the quiet piece, the one I'd wrestled with for a week. I slid an envelope across to Olivia. Inside was a letter, my voice on paper, not fire, not ice. It said, "Olivia, you told me distance would make me value what I had. It did. I valued the version of us that didn't ask me to beg for the bare minimum. I won't humiliate you at work or ruin anyone's name. That's not who I am. But I am done carrying." That night in the house that would be mine, I grilled chicken, watered the lemon sapling I'd planted in a big pot, and listened to the kind of silence that doesn't accuse. Revenge didn't taste like victory. It tasted like clean air. About a week before the final hearing, Olivia came by without makeup, without armor. She stood at the back door where we used to pass plates onto the patio in summer. "I was wrong," she said. No excuses, no blame shifting, just a sentence with its head bowed. "I know," I said, not unkind. "I wanted proof I was still wanted," she whispered. "You were," I said. "You just couldn't feel it without an audience." We sat at the patio table we'd once assembled together, and for the first time in months, we told the truth without trying to win. She admitted the affair with Adrian had begun as accidental closeness during late-night showings and turned into a shelter for the attention she wasn't asking me for. She admitted Noel and Brianna's voices had felt like permission slips for behavior she'd already chosen. She admitted she'd thought leaving for a week would make me collapse, and the sight of my steadiness had felt like a betrayal of the story she'd been told. "Is there any hope?" she asked, her voice small. "Forgiveness? Yes. Another try? No," I said. She nodded, tears bright but contained. "That's fair." "I don't hate you," I added. "I just can't be married to the version of you that needs a crisis to remember what love means." 3 weeks later, a judge's signature made it official. No celebration, no speeches. I went home, opened every window, and let in a breeze that smelled like cut grass and lemon leaves. I didn't post a quote about freedom. I didn't swipe through dating apps. I made a sandwich and stood barefoot in the kitchen we'd chosen together, realizing the best revenge I'd crafted wasn't legal or financial. It was personal. I became a man who will never again beg to be chosen. People asked later if I'd ever take her back. They said she looked genuinely sorry. I told them remorse is a decent guest, but it's a terrible roommate. I wanted a partner who chooses without being watched. I changed my routines in small, human ways. The last line she sent read, "Thank you for not turning me into a spectacle." I replied, "Thank you for telling the truth." If you're listening for a moral, it's simple. Distance is not a love language. Loyalty, chosen daily in rooms where no one is clapping. That's the whole thing. Don't threaten to leave to measure devotion. Ask for what you need. And if you're the one betrayed, understand this. You don't have to scorch the earth to start over. Sometimes the strongest revenge is a door that closes quietly and a life that opens loudly. I water the lemon tree every other morning. I grill on Fridays. I keep the good plates in reach, not for a special occasion, but because I became the occasion. Steady, specific, and no longer negotiable.